here. We couldn't conduct a session without diversity. That would just be a bit.
What about whoa.
Huh? What?
Reevaluate.
What do you mean reevaluate? We have diversity. Mystery is not black. Only his avatar is black.
My fault. I was being
That's
my shit
an insane
crazy.
statement.
Yeah, I was being my shit. My bad.
Pause.
Billy reference.
Oh, those of infinite ammo nowadays? What? That's good timing for Mr. Ancient Blue, actually.
Okay, let's begin. I hereby call the fourth session of the 58th Congress to order. Please rise for the playing of the national anthem. Please remain standing for a moment of reflection. Thank you. You may be seated. May the clerk please call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's see. Give me 1 second. All right, there we go. Speaker Pro Tempore and their mastery.
Present.
Did you say present or?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. Thanks. Representative Cillian Clark. Representative Cillian Clark will be marked as absent. Let's see. Representative Garrett, the Turtle Man. Representative Garrett will be marked as absent. Let's see. Representative Voxis.
Present.
Thank you. Representative Ray Bans is here via proxy. Representative Prime Maximus. Thank you. Representative Bill is here via proxy. Representative Lando. Representative Lando will be marked as absent. Representative Mystery. Thank you. And finally, Representative Abe.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Clerk, point of
we ha-
order. Sorry, I believe that
Your
Lando has a
point.
proxy. I think I heard the clerk say that Lando will be marked as absent, but I believe he is proxied for this session.
Yes, your point is well taken. May the clerk please correct the record? I'll correct it because it was my mistake. Okay. Okay, we have 6 items on our agenda today. HR 5802, the Diplomatic Permission Review 2024. S 5805, the Amendment to the Solar Act 2024. HR 5803, the Department Security Act. HR 5804, Amendment to US Code 18. HR 5805, the Big Red 1 Preservation Act, and the House Joint Resolution 5802, awarding the Congressional Medal of Public Service to Mr. Baghdad. I will now hear any motions regarding the agenda.
Mr. Speaker,
The representative is recognized.
I move to approve tonight's agenda.
Is there any seconds?
I second.
Hearing a sufficient second, the agenda is approved, and I will now entertain any requests for any opening remarks relating to the agenda. For what purpose does the representative from New York seek recognition? The floor is yours for the next 3 minutes. Thank you. Oh, thank you for your service, Prime Maximus.
Bro didn't have to show up.
I will now hear any motions regarding any more any I'm just so speechless after that. Okay, the chair will now still remain. Okay, hold on. Let me just take a moment to just process that. Okay. I will now hear any more motions regarding the agenda. Hearing none, we shall now proceed to our legislative business. Okay, pursuant to Rule 12, Section 2 of the House Standing Rules, may the clerk please report on the purpose of HR 5802.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's see. HR 5802, Diplomat Permission Review 2024, proposed by Representative Foxes Lin. Purpose: this bill will also allow the ambassador to the United Nations and the OS Chief of Staff to access their vehicles at any time. This is to allow for their access in meetings, tours, and other events that are not limited to state visits. This bill will also permit the ambassador to the United Nations the necessary commands to perform state visits without the need of an in-game admin. This will be in order to conduct state visits in an efficient and professional manner. This bill has been requested by the Department of State and has been approved by the development team. That's all, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I will now hear motions regarding HR 5802.
Mr. Speaker,
The representative from
I
New Jersey.
move to proceed to a vote.
Is there a second?
I second.
I second.
Hearing a sufficient second, we shall now proceed to a vote on HR 5802. With 7 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstains, with the majority being in the affirmative, HR 5802 passes the House and shall be forwarded to the Senate. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Moving on to our second item on the agenda, may the clerk please report on the purpose of S5805.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 5805, Amendment to the Solo Act 2024, proposed by Senator Vindict Fokriun. To amend the Solo Act, the purpose of this bill is to correct the mistakes which were left inside of the Solo Act 2024. It is in regards to the smuggling of illegal contraband. That's all, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I will now hear motions regarding S5805.
Mr. Speaker,
The representative from Minnesota.
I move to proceed to a vote on S5805.
Is there a second?
I second.
Hearing a sufficient second, we shall proceed to a vote on S5805. With 6 ayes, 0 nays, and 1 abstain, with the majority being in the affirmative, S5805 passes the House and shall be forwarded to the President. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Okay, moving on to our third item on the agenda. May the clerk please report on the purpose of HR 5803.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. HR 5803, the Department Security Act, proposed by Representative Abe 1212. Purpose: any individual in a position equivalent to or greater than Chief of Staff in a foreign agency and/or department shall not serve in any department as Deputy Director Plus, Cabinet, or any Senate-confirmed position within the United States. The President may request for an exception to the Senate. The Director of the National Security Agency, in conjunction with the Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, will be responsible for determining the equivalent roles to their foreign counterparts. This bill was endorsed by the Department of State. That's all, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I will now hear motions regarding HR 5803.
Mr. Speaker,
The representative from Florida.
I motion to the floor.
You may have the floor for 2 minutes.
All right. My fellow speakers, this is an incredibly important bill in ensuring national security and to ensure that we have the right people in their proper positions. I understand there are some concerns on directors being able to choose a proper deputy director. That is not saying that directors are dumb or they're incapable of choosing proper people, but it's to ensure that we can get the right people for the people. All right, directors can choose who they want, but we got to make sure that we think they are fit for everybody involved. That is all. I yield.
Thank you. I will now continue to hear motions regarding HR 5803.
Mr. Speaker,
The representative from New Jersey.
I move to proceed to a vote.
Is there a second?
I second.
Hearing insufficient seconds, we shall now proceed to a vote on HR 5803. With 7 ayes, 0 nays, and 0 abstains, the majority being in the affirmative, HR 5803 passes the House of Representatives and shall be forwarded to the United States Senate. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Okay, moving on to our next item on the agenda. May the clerk please report on the purpose of HR 5804.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. HR 5804, amendment of US Code 18, proposed by Representative Abe 1212. I do not see a purpose section here, but I guess I can read the bill. 18 US Code 505, Deputy Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The President shall appoint by and with the advice and consent of the Senate a Deputy Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The Deputy Director shall be the Deputy Head of the Federal Bureau of Investigation and assist the Director with all functions within the department. Section 4, Findings. The following Deputy Directors in the intelligence community are nominated by the President with the advice and consent from the Senate. The NSA Deputy Director and the CIA Deputy Director. That's all, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I will now hear motions regarding HR 5804.
Mr. Speaker, I motion for the floor.
The floor is yours for 3 minutes.
All right, my fellow representatives. The purpose of this bill is to make sure that the FBI, which is a part of the intelligence community, has the same regulations for their deputy directors as the aforementioned intelligence agencies. That is all. I yield.
Thank you, Representative. I will continue to hear motions regarding HR 5804.
Mr. Speaker,
The representative from New Jersey.
I move to proceed to a vote.
Is there a second? Hearing a sufficient second, we shall now proceed to a vote on HR 5804. May the clerk please report on the next item on our agenda, HR 5805.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As HR 5805, the Big Red One Preservation Act, proposed by Representative Abe 1212. If passed, this bill shall lay the 1st Infantry Division to rest permanently for the foreseeable future and shall never be reopened by the Department of Defense. That's all, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I will now have motions regarding HR 5805.
Mr. Speaker, I motion to proceed with the
The
vote.
representative. Here, is there a second?
I second.
Hearing a sufficient second, we shall proceed to a vote on HR 5805. With 7 ayes, 0 nays, and 0 abstains, HR 5805 passes the House and shall be forwarded to the Senate. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Okay, moving on to our final item on our agenda today. May the clerk please report on the purpose of House Joint Resolution 5802.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Joint Resolution 5802, awarding the Congressional Medal of Public Service to Mr. Baghdad, proposed by the Honorable Speaker of the House, Private Devi. Whereas Mr. Baghdad has served the executive branch on numerous occasions as President of the United States, Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Homeland Security, the Director of National Intelligence, and Director of the FBI, among other positions. Whereas Mr. Baghdad has served the legislative branch on numerous occasions as Vice President of the United States, President pro tempore of the Senate, and as a senator from Texas, among other positions. Whereas Mr. Baghdad has served in these positions of public service with merit, dignity, and skill for the greater good of the nation. Resolved that Mr. Baghdad is awarded the Congressional Medal of Public Service, by the United States Congress. That's all, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I will now hear motions regarding House Joint Resolution 5802.
Mr. Speaker,
The representative from New Jersey.
due to this not being an odd term, I move to table this resolution until next term.
Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing a sufficient second, we shall now proceed to a roll call on tabling House Joint Resolution 5802. May the clerk please call the roll?
Right, sorry. Let's see. Speaker Pro Tempore Ender Mastery. Thank you. Representative Cillian Clark is absent. Representative Garrett the Turtleman is absent. Representative Foxy Lynn.
Aye.
Thank you. Representative Ray Bans Maker Dance is absent. Representative Prime Maximus is absent. Representative Billy Bob the Joe is absent. Representative Lando is absent. Representative Mystery. Thank you. Representative Ape.
Aye.
Thank you. With 4 ayes, 0 nays, and 0 abstains, the motion passes. Mr. Speaker, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. With the majority being in the affirmative, House Joint Resolution 5802 shall be laid upon the table. Seeing as we've exhausted today's agenda, the Chair will now entertain up to 2-minute requests for the floor for any closing remarks.
Mr. Speaker,
The representative from Minnesota,
I move for the floor.
you may have the floor for 2 minutes.
All right. So I just wanted to address a slight legislative deficiency this term from the LP party. We are currently working on a bill, which I'll be talking to my caucus about alongside 2 other resolutions that are in the works. It won't be prepared for this term, but it will be good for the next term, probably the first session. So there is legislation on the way, despite nothing happening for this term. Otherwise, it was a good term. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for dealing with us for this congressional term. And yeah, so for a good one next term. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Representative. Are there any more motions for the floor for any closing remarks?
Mr. Speaker,
The representative from New Jersey,
I move for the floor.
you may have the floor for 2 minutes.
There's been a lack of activity in the House this term, and I would like to credit that towards some people having exam season. And there's also been some lack of active members within Congress who have recently resigned or have just had repetitive absence. However, I would like to. Some people have been active, like Ray, who just cooked very recently on 3 bills. So props to Ray. And some other people have done well. They've discussed. So, but there has been, despite the lack of activity compared to other terms, there has been good collaboration and communication between the 2 parties, which has been a good step in the right direction. There hasn't been, despite the lack of legislation, there hasn't been any attacks or condemning statements from either side towards each other about this, which I think is good. But overall, I dislike the direction that Congress is going in, and I'm worried for the future of this chamber. And as a result, I'm announcing that I'll be running for Speaker of the House for the 59th Congress. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the floor.
Thank you for that, Mr. Voxislim. Are there any more motions regarding any closing remarks? Hearing none, and seeing as there's no further pending business before the House, I hereby adjourn the session of the 58th Congress.
Sloppy kisses for everybody.